Hello, I'm glad you're here. I'm NatsMan, and I'm reading the Bible from the beginning to the end, from Genesis to Revelations. Please join me in this journey and make God's Word a part of your everyday life. This is video number 73, and today we're reading from the book of Joshua, starting in chapter 4. Joshua chapter 4. When all the nation had completely crossed over the Jordan, the Lord spoke to Joshua, saying, "Take 12 men out of the people, a man out of every tribe, and command them, saying, Take from out of the middle of the Jordan, out of the place where the priest's feet stood firm, 12 stones, carry them over with you, and lay them down in the place where you'll camp tonight." Then Joshua called the 12 men whom he had prepared of the children of Israel, a man out of every tribe. Joshua said to them, "Cross before the ark of the Lord your God into the middle of the Jordan, and each of you pick up a stone and put it on your shoulder, according to the number of the tribes of the children of Israel, that you may be a sign amongst you, that when your children ask in the future, saying, 'What do you mean by these stones?' then you shall tell them, because the waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the Lord's covenant. When it crossed over the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off. These stones shall be for a memorial to the children of Israel forever." The children of Israel did as Joshua commanded, and took up 12 stones out of the middle of the Jordan, as the Lord spoke to Joshua, according to the number of the tribes of the children of Israel. They carried them over and were with them to the place where they camped, and laid them down there. Joshua set up 12 stones in the middle of the Jordan, in the place where the feet of the priest who bore the ark of the covenant stood, and they were there to this day. For the priest who bore the ark stood in the middle of the Jordan until everything was finished that the Lord commanded Joshua to speak to the people, according to all that Moses commanded Joshua. And the people hurried and passed over. When all the people had completely crossed over, the Lord's ark crossed over with the priests in the presence of the people. The children of Reuben and the children of Gad and the half-tribes of Manasseh crossed over armed before the children of Israel, as Moses spoke to them. About 40,000 men, ready and armed for war, passed over before the Lord to battle to the plains of Jericho. On that day the Lord magnified Joshua in the sight of all Israel, and they feared him as they feared Moses all the days of his life. The Lord spoke to Joshua, saying, "Command the priests who bear the ark of the covenant that they come up out of Jordan." Joshua therefore commanded the priests, saying, "Come up out of the Jordan." When the priest who bore the ark of the Lord's covenant had come up out of the middle of the Jordan, and the soles of the priest's feet had been lifted up to the dry ground, the waters of the Jordan returned to their place, and went over all its banks as before. The people came up out of the Jordan on the 10th day of the month, and encamped in Gilgal on the east border of Jericho. Joshua set up those 12 stones which they took out of the Jordan in Gilgal. He spoke to the children of Israel, saying, "When your children ask their fathers in time to come, saying, 'What do these stones mean?' then you shall let your children know, saying, 'Israel came over this Jordan on dry land.' For the Lord your God dried up the waters of the Jordan from before you until you had crossed over, as the Lord your God did to the Red Sea, which he dried up from before us until we had crossed over, that all the peoples of the earth may know that the Lord's hand is mighty, and that you may fear the Lord your God forever." That's Joshua 4. Now Joshua 5. When all the kings of the Amorites who were beyond the Jordan westward, and all the kings of the Canaanites who were by the sea, heard how the Lord had dried up the waters of the Jordan from before the children of Israel until they had crossed over, their heart melted, and there was no more spirit in them because of the children of Israel. At that time the Lord said to Joshua, "Make flint knives and circumcise again the sons of Israel the second time." Joshua made himself flint knives and circumcised the sons of Israel at the hill of the foreskins. This is the reason Joshua circumcised them. All the men who came out of Egypt, who were males, even all the men of war, died in the wilderness along the way after they came out of Egypt. For all the people who came out were circumcised. But all the people who were born in the wilderness along the way as they had come out of Egypt had not been circumcised. For the children of Israel walked 40 years in the wilderness until all the nation, even the men of war who came out of Egypt, were consumed because they didn't listen to the Lord's voice. The Lord swore to them that he wouldn't let them see the land which the Lord swore to their fathers that he would give us, a land flowing with milk and honey. Their children, whom he raised up in their place, were circumcised by Joshua, for they were uncircumcised, because they had not circumcised them on the way. When they were done circumcising the whole nation, they stayed in their places in the camp until they were healed. The Lord said to Joshua, "Today I have rolled away the reproach of Egypt from you." Therefore the name of that place was called Gilgal to this day. The children of Israel encamped in Gilgal. They kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at evening in the plains of Jericho. They ate unleavened cakes and parched grain of the produce of the land on the next day after the Passover. In the same day, the manna ceased on the next day after they had eaten of the produce of the land. The children of Israel didn't have manna anymore, but they ate of the fruit of the land of Canaan that year. When Joshua was by Jericho, he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, a man stood in front of him with his sword drawn in his hand. Joshua went to him and said to him, "Are you for us, or are you for our enemies?" He said, "No, I have come now as commander of the Lord's army." Joshua fell on his face to the earth and worshipped and asked him, "What does my servant say to his servant?" The prince of the Lord's army said to Joshua, "Take off your sandals. All the place on which you stand is holy." And Joshua did so. That was Joshua 5, now Joshua 6. Now Jericho was tightly shut up because of the children of Israel. No one went out and no one came in. The Lord said to Joshua, "Behold, I have given Jericho into your hand with its king and the mighty men of valor. All of your men of war shall march around the city, going around the city once. You shall do this for 6 days. 7 priests shall bear trumpets of ram's horns before the ark. On the 7th day you shall march around the city 7 times, and the priests shall blow the trumpets. It shall be that when they make a big long blast with the ram's horns, and when you hear the sound of the trumpet, all the people shall shout with a great shout. Then the city wall will fall down flat, and the people shall go up, every man straight in front of him." Joshua the son of Nun called the priests and said to them, "Take up the ark of the covenant, and let 7 priests bear 7 trumpets of ram's horns before the Lord's ark." They said to the people, "Advance, march around the city, and let the armed men pass on before the Lord's ark." It was so, and that when Joshua had spoken to the people, the 7 priests, bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horns, before the Lord advanced and blew the trumpets, and the ark of the Lord's covenant followed them. The armed men went before the priests who blew the trumpets, and the ark went after them. The trumpets sounded as they went. Joshua commanded the people, saying, "You shall not shout, nor let your voice be heard, neither shall any word proceed out of your mouth until the day I tell you to shout. Then you shall shout." So he caused the Lord's ark to go around the city, circling it once. Then they came up into camp and stayed in the camp. Joshua rose early in the morning, and the priests took up the Lord's ark. The 7 priests, bearing the 7 trumpets of ram's horns in front of the Lord's ark, went on continually and blew the trumpets. The armed men went in front of them. The rear guard came after the Lord's ark. The trumpets sounded as they went. The second day they marched around the city once and returned into the camp. They did this 6 days. On the seventh day they rose early at the dawning of the day and marched around the city in the same way 7 times. On this day only they marched around the city 7 times. On the 7th time, when the priests blew the trumpets, Joshua said to the people, "Shout, for the Lord has given you the city. The city shall be devoted, even it and all that is in it, to the Lord. Only Rahab the prostitute shall live, she and all who are with her in her house, because she hid the messengers that we sent. But as for you, only keep yourselves from what is devoted to destruction, lest when you have devoted it, you take of the devoted thing, so you would make the camp of Israel accursed and trouble it. But all the silver, gold, and vessels of bronze and iron are holy to the Lord. They shall come into the Lord's treasury." So the people shouted, and the priests blew the trumpets. When the people heard the sound of the trumpet, the people shouted with a great shout, and the wall fell down flat. So that the people went up into the city, every man straight in front of him, and they took the city. They utterly destroyed all that was in the city, both man and woman, both young and old, and ox, sheep, and donkey, with the edge of the sword. Joshua said to the 2 men who had spied out the land, "Go into the prostitute's house, and bring the woman and all that she has from there, as you swore to her." The young men who were spies went in and brought out Rahab with her father, her mother, her brothers, and all that she had. They also brought out all of her relatives, and they set them outside of the camp of Israel. They burnt the city with fire and all that was in it. Only they put the silver, the gold, and the vessels of bronze and of iron into the treasury of the Lord's house. But Rahab the prostitute, her father's household, and all that they had, Joshua saved alive. She lives in the middle of Israel to this day, because she hid the messengers whom Joshua sent to spy out Jericho. Joshua commanded them with an oath at that time, saying, "Cursed is the man before the Lord who rises up and builds this city Jericho. With the loss of his firstborn he will lay its foundation, and with the loss of his youngest son he will set up its gates." So the Lord was with Joshua, and his fame was in all the land. That is the end of Joshua 6. We will end here. That was the book of Joshua, chapters 4, 5, and 6, on video number 73. I'd like to thank you for joining me in this project, this endeavor to read the entire Bible. I hope you enjoy listening as much as I enjoy reading it. Please feel free to comment if you so desire, and also please subscribe and give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I hope you come back for the next video, and until then, thank you. I hope you have a blessed day. I'm NatsMan, and I'm out.